Welcome to Watch Crazy. I'm your host Nick Hearn, and today, other than looking like I'm going to deliver a parcel to your door, I'm going to answer as best I can a question that I get asked time and time again. And that being, which watch or which luxury watch should you purchase? But before we get started, please ensure to like, share and hit that subscribe button now if you would like to see more great videos, of course, like this one. So, should you buy yourself that Tudor Black Bay, that Omega Speedmaster, or even that Patek Philippe Grand Complication? Well, there are a number of questions within that question alone that need to be answered, or you need to answer, in order to make that decision. And the first being is, why do you want to buy the watch in the first place? I mean, is it because you love the brand, you've spent many sleepless nights thinking about it, that you've done your research, and every time you go past a watch shop window with the watch in it, you're dribbling all over the glass? Or is it that you want to have the best watch in the room? Or do you feel pressured by your group of friends into needing to buy a luxury watch? Well, if you feel or the situation is the latter, then I suggest you find yourself some better friends and maybe spend that money, which you're going to buy on the watch, on getting some help in dealing with your inferiority complexes. Because regardless of price, as long as you can afford it, purchasing a luxury watch should only be bought if you are genuinely going to get many years of excitement from it. It shouldn't be purchased if you believe it's going to help improve or better your life and make you a cooler person that people want to be around. It's just not going to happen. But if you answer correctly, there are a number of things that you too need to take in consideration before making that purchase. For example, if you're about to blow your entire life savings on that one watch, will that watch end up being your sole watch for eternity? I mean, could you live with only one watch from now on in? I mean, let's face it, you're very lucky, because very few people can ever purchase one luxury watch, never mind several luxury watches. And if you're watching this video and the many millions of videos online, watch videos online, then you obviously like watches, not watch. So it's certainly not the answer to buy the one watch in that instance. And here's why. Because when buying an expensive watch, just like buying a more expensive car or motorbike, that comes with more expensive running costs, servicing and such like. And also, when you own an expensive watch, you're more than likely want to take out insurance for it, which can cost just as much as owning, as the car itself. So think carefully about this. I mean, it's unlikely that you'll spend £90, for example, on getting your Vostok, your Seiko or Orient watch serviced, your £80 watch service, because it would be quite easy enough to go out, or it'd be cheaper to go out and just buy another one. Whereas if you were to, let's say, buy an Audemars Piguet chronograph, then you're going to be looking at about £1,200 each time, every 2 to 3 years, to get that service. I mean, putting that in perspective, that's 15 of your £80 Seikos, Orients or Vostoks, and 75 years of not having to pay for any service costs at all. So it's very important that you take these things into consideration. So think carefully when you do have a look and you search online and you find, for example, a cheaper, let's say, entry watch, such as the Breguet Type 20 online. I mean, the watch, is an incredible price if you think it's cheaper than a Daytona at roughly £8,500. That's sort of at least half the price of your standard Breguet. But with that watch, I mean, you're going to be spending possibly £1,500 every 2 to 3 years to have it serviced, and which is obviously equivalent of a new luxury watch each and every time. Compare that to something like this, the IWC 3717, which the service cost will run at the same price as buying an automatic Seiko Prospex Samurai every 3 to 5 years. So be sure to factor in these almost kind of hidden costs, additional hidden costs, into your purchase. So taking that into consideration, the next sort of areas we sort of, consider delving into is buying second-hand. I mean, should you buy second-hand or new? Well, we all know that, like buying a brand new car, the second you walk out of the dealership, it loses value. And so, like the Breguet, if we take the Type 20 you just bought for £8,500 and you think, wow, this is an incredible bargain, it's fantastic. Well, have a look online a few years later and you'll see that right now you can pick up a really good example for £3,000. So second-hand, is it a good example, good thing to purchase? Well, at £1,500 a cost to have it serviced each time, and that's possibly every 2 years. Is it worth it? Is it a good investment to purchase? Well, no watch is a guaranteed investment, so you should never buy a watch as guaranteed. It's, the watch market, though currently that you've got a lot of vintage watches and a number of very popular watches which are, and brands which are doing very successfully right now. The history, shows, or past history shows that there's a lot of volatility within the watch market. I mean, who's to say that within the next 3 to 5 years there isn't going to be a crash within the market, that there's potential economic downturn, or maybe something like the smartwatch revolution takes off and really, kicks it in the teeth to the Swiss makers and other makers, of course. So, however, if you really like a particular watch, I mean, like a car, you shouldn't really sort of you should take into consideration the fact that, yeah, you're going to have to pay for these servicing, but you also do, you're going to get the enjoyment out of it. That's the sort of thing you've got to weigh out. So if you really like a watch and don't want to lose a few £1,000s just for within the seconds of purchasing it, and don't obviously have a pot of gold at the end of your bed, then used second-hand watches are the ideal solution. But what if you're looking at watches, let's say, within the £1,000 mark, which costs £350 to service every 3 or so years? Well, are these good watches to buy as, not necessarily an investment? Are these watches good watches to buy? Well, yes, actually, strangely enough, because these types of watches, 3 years on, a £1,000 watch, most of them are on the market for £450. Now I hear you saying, what are you on about? How can that be good? Well, in effect it still is, because even though it sounds like you've lost £550, if you go out and buy yourself that £450 watch second-hand used, it's very likely you'll still need to pay the £350 to have it serviced. That's £800 already gone there and then. And of the 3 to 5 years you've had the watch, you've worn it, and the wear and tear it's had, and the enjoyment you've had out of it certainly outweighs the £200 you've lost. I mean, £200 only sort of a really good night out, so it's really not that much for a bit of wear and tear and the enjoyment you've actually had. And the other great thing about this is that when you're buying at these sort of levels, or the levels that you can afford to buy, you're more than likely not to overspend and, in fact, be able to purchase many of the other affordable watches that you genuinely like. So, which obviously means that you will likely rotate your watches on a, every few months, maybe a year or so. In so doing, by rotating your watch, lengthening the time in which that watch and all of your watches will need a service. So 3 to 5 years then become 7 to 10 years. So, you know, long term, that means that the running costs will be far cheaper. And finally, having owned so many watches, regardless of the price, quality, and I mean, I have loved each and every single watch almost as much as the next. And why do I say almost? Because even though that my luxury watches have incredible handcrafted movements, that the cases are really beautifully put together and the eye to detail is just insane and everything on it, you know, is just magical, I feel less comfortable walking around in public, going on holiday, using public transport, going out of an evening, wearing a watch which could potentially draw the wrong attention than I do wearing any of my other watches. And so what if it's not a big brand I'm wearing on my wrist, and that it's a lesser quality watch, that it has not as great a movement? It's my watch and I love it. So in answer to the question, which watch should you purchase, or which luxury watch should you purchase, only you can decide that question. Thank you for watching. My name is Nick Cohen and this has been Watch Crazy, and if you would like to see more videos like this one, please ensure to hit that subscribe button.